Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Beskar Bucket. I am your host, John, and by very, very special request, I have the most requested guest today, my dad. Today we're gonna be talking about toys, Star Wars toys throughout the years, and yeah, how's it going? You excited to be here?
I am excited to be here. You know, I love to talk about toys.
Yeah. So over the years, we have amassed quite the collection.
Yes, we have.
So, is there anything in particular that stands out to you as, something? What do you think is the crown jewel of our collection, toys specifically?
My personal Millennium Falcon.
And you had that when you were a kid, and
yes,
and then didn't you restore it completely?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So the backstory is that my sister and I share the same birthday. Of course, you know that's your aunt. And while my parents were busy for my 11th birthday, with my sister being born, they bought me the Millennium Falcon in '79 as a consolation prize, because back then it cost a fortune. Even back then, they were expensive toys. So I got the Millennium Falcon for my 11th birthday, and it was one of the few toys that my mom had kept for me throughout the years. I mean, she kept some other small stuff, but I was always surprised she kept the Falcon. And I had continued. Well, I took a break, obviously, from collecting for a while there, and then when I started to get back into collecting, obviously right around the time you were born.
Well, it makes sense.
I thought to myself, I should, I took it totally apart because it was dirty from over the years, and restored it. New stickers. I was missing like a lot of the Falcons, they were missing the struts to the where the hatch was that open, and picked, on eBay you could buy them dirt cheap back then. Now you're not getting anything cheap anymore,
right?
But
there's good as gold,
and that's why I always say that after I get you guys out, you and your mom and your sister out of the house, and the puppies, I'm saving the Millennium Falcon next. That's my pride and joy.
Yeah, I still think it's funny throughout the years. I mean, because like there are a couple things, like we've got the 12-inch Chewbacca. I know that was yours. What else was saved?
The 12-inch Darth Vader.
Right.
I think the TIE Fighter is original, the white one we have. And I want to say, I mean, as silly as it sounds, they saved one R4D4. Oh my gosh. I don't know if I have any other the miniature of the 3 3/4 action figures. Other than that, I don't know why they would have saved that particular one, but they did. It's the one that sits on my computer desk.
And you restickered that one as well.
I restickered them because there was a minute there where people were making all the reproduction stickers for a lot of this stuff. It's kind of died down because I don't know if it's because Disney got a hold of them or somebody said, look, you can't be reproducing them. We own the trademarks. Maybe it was Kenner. I don't know.
Well, it has now.
Or Hasbro, right. But it's hard to get some of the reproduction stuff anymore. Except from Australia, because apparently our copyrights don't apply down there. So,
and the UK for some reason, because I know you can find the boxes.
Yes, that guy's still making those boxes. Yeah.
Now, okay, back to the Falcon. So that was '79.
Right.
Would they have been making toys for Empire yet, or would that still be considered the Star Wars?
That was still Star Wars Falcon. Okay. Yeah. Empire toys didn't come out till '80. They almost completely coincided with the movie, if I remember correctly. But
it's a stark change from where we're at.
Although, boy, you couldn't find a Tauntaun to save your life back then.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why, but I distinctly remember struggling to find a Tauntaun back then because I really wanted one. I really wanted the open belly one, which is the crown jewel of Tauntauns today. Just couldn't find a Tauntaun. But back to what you were saying, everything that Falcon was pre-Empire. So that there was a gap, and they were, I think at that point, things like Toys R Us, Children's Palace still existed, back then, and I believe that they were, trying to liquidate those toys in order to get the new stuff in place. So,
and the Tauntaun, that was the one that was hard to get one.
Yes, the Tauntaun of all things, and that would have been probably a $4.99 toy back then. It wasn't expensive.
Right.
It was expensive for 1980 standards, but not by today. Yeah.
Right, but that's like a $20 toy today.
Right. It was weird how some things were, I never saw Wampas in the store.
Mm-hmm.
There was no Wampas. It was all I know, right? Of all the toys, never saw them in the stores. It's only until later on in years I was collecting them that I found the Wampas.
Yeah, but I'm sure you could find the Imperial, the small cart looking thing. I forget what it was called. We have one.
Imperial cart thing.
It looks like, I mean, if you put a Gonk droid on wheels, essentially. I forget what it's called. It was never in the movies. It was another one of the things that was just for the toys.
Yes, and it had almost like roller wheels.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know where that came from. You could find those everywhere, right? Some of the stuff, like the Imperial Transport, although it appeared in The Mandalorian, was never in the original movies. I don't even know where that came from. But you could find those everywhere.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was Lucas being smart and just, we can make toys of everything.
Funny story, by the way, I had an Imperial Transport, right?
Did you really?
Yes. Now, here's the funny story. Since the statute of limitations has expired, I'll tell you the truth. They were $9.99 in the store, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, back then, everything was keyed manually. They didn't use scanners and stuff like that.
Right.
Really wanted it. Only had $2 to my name. So I went and I found a $1.99 sticker and put it over top of it and bought it for $1.99. I know, criminal activity. I know this hopefully doesn't lower your opinion of your dad. But yeah, I'll never forget that. The store is now closed. Maybe I ran it into the ground because it went out of business.
Because you shorted them.
Because I'm shorted them that $8. But yeah. But yeah, I put $1.09. It was so tax and everything. I think I paid $2.05 for it. Yep.
Now, were you able to convince Nana to give you the early bird special?
No. Here's the thing about Star Wars, and I don't know if I've even ever told you this. Obviously, it came out in May of '77, right?
Mm-hmm.
I never saw Star Wars till Christmas of '77.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know the movie existed.
Right.
So I had no concept that Star Wars was even. I was 9.
Yeah.
Right. And I think your grandmother came to me and said, "Hey, do you want to go to the movies for?" It might have been like the day after Christmas, because back then nothing was open on Christmas, not like it is today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the day after Christmas, they said, "Do you want to go see a movie?" Now, obviously, your Aunt Becky hadn't been born yet. Your Uncle Bob, he couldn't care less about Star Wars. I mean,
well, that's still.
I'm not even 100% sure that he's ever seen all the movies.
I'd be shocked.
But yeah, your Nana's like, "Hey, let's go see it." When I remember going to the movie theater, it was darn near empty.
Really?
Yeah, it was darn near empty. And I think it's only because of the timing. Because to have a movie in the theaters for 8 months back then, because it continued to play after even I saw it. I saw it 1 or 2 more times in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
I had to beg to go, but I'm going to say it stayed in the theaters for 9-10 months around here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I didn't see it again till after Christmas of '77. Didn't know the movie existed.
Huh.
I didn't, because it's not like it was today where everything is, instantaneously transported through your phones and everything. If your Nana had not suggested that we go see it,
mm-hmm.
who knows if we'd ever been on the journey to the Beskar bucket here, right?
Right. So. And the Unifying Fandom Network, shameless plug.
Shameless plug, that's right.
So back to '77 when all the toys started coming out. What all did you have? Let's say
originally I think I started with action figures.
Mm-hmm. And
I didn't have them all. I only had obviously Luke. I had Leia. I think I had Obi-Wan, R2 and C-3PO. I don't think I ever had a Jawa, which is funny. I didn't have a Jawa until later on. But I can't remember what the original 8-pack are.
12-pack.
Or 12. What am I missing?
So you had the Imperial Gunner, Tusken Raider, Darth Vader, Jawa, Stormtrooper.
I had a Stormtrooper.
Han, Luke, Leia, Obi-Wan, Chewbacca, R2, and 3PO. That's your 12.
So maybe I had about 8 of them then. I had about 8 of them. And then, so I got the original figures. I distinctly remember getting a X-Wing, and that probably would have been birthday or Christmas of 78. Whenever I don't remember if they were out yet by my birthday of 78, but definitely by Christmas of 78. And I think I got a TIE Fighter. And of course, I got the Falcon in 79. But I didn't have any other toys from the original movie that I can remember having, other than my stolen Imperial transport.
You didn't steal it. You just
discounted. Yes,
exactly
discounted. You're right. I didn't technically steal it. I discounted it.
Right. So you never had the dewback, the sand speeder, or the land speeder?
Oh, I did have a land speeder. Yes, I forgot about that one.
Okay.
Yep.
It's funny.
Dewback though.
It's funny to think now, like with everything we have now in the way of toys, and how oversaturated the market is, and you know we've got figures and things releasing every 2-3 months in waves. To think back to, okay, you had 12 action figures, a handful of ships,
right?
That's really it.
That was it.
So I mean, 45 years later,
but put Kenner on the map though, didn't it?
Yeah,
they were an obscure toy company in Cincinnati that probably was lucky to be producing toys, and boy, did that.
Well, at the time, they were the only people that would even hear George Lucas out.
Right.
Nobody else wanted anything to do with it.
That's right.
And I mean, that's indicative of, you know, Star Wars as a whole from the very beginning. Is nobody wanted to pay for any of this.
Nobody. That's right. Yeah, that's a whole other show about that. But wow, you're right about I'm obsessed with the ILM. I told you about the documentary. I'm obsessed with it. I haven't watched all the episodes yet, but
yeah,
just to see how the creativity came together is amazing.
Right. Yeah, I really at some point I need to get you in contact with Ken, because he's real big into the Kenner stuff, with not so, I don't know so much as the collecting of it like we do, but he knows all about the history of like the toys and everyone on the forces behind Star Wars. I know they interviewed a couple of the Kenner designers or people who worked at Kenner. My memory is terrible, so. Ken, I know you're listening to this. I'm sorry. I just have a bad memory. But yeah, I should get you guys in contact. So, because I know, Jesus, a conversation between you two would be phenomenal. But so okay, let's fast forward to 80, to when Empire comes out.
Right. Okay.
What was the, other than the Tauntaun and the Wampa being impossible to find, what was the one thing that everyone had?
I think. I mean, right, probably the X-Wing, but I think it was a battle damaged X-Wing, if I remember correctly. It was the same X-Wing, they just restickered it.
Right.
And I kind of swore it was just, they still were pumping out X-Wings and TIE Fighters. And I mean, obviously there is a lot more toys for Empire than there were from the original ones. And of course they exploded with the amount of action figures that you could get. But I want to say that, you know, I had the battle damaged X-Wing. I had another TIE Fighter, because I'm sure. I think the TIE Fighter was battle damaged too, wasn't it? Or wasn't there another one where they had stickers that were different?
I think so.
I can't remember now, but
yeah, we're fake fans, I guess.
Yeah, we're fake fans, but the one thing that I wanted more than anything else was never going to happen because of the price. It was in 80, it was probably $60, and that was the all-terrain armor transport, which is my all-time favorite Star Wars toy ever.
And for those of you who aren't watching the video portion of this stream, he's wearing an AT-AT shirt, so that kind of goes to show. It's funny, actually, now that I think about it, we're each wearing our favorite thing from Star Wars, or at least our favorite movie, on our shirts. I've got my Revenge of the Sith shirt, and you've got an AT-AT from Empire. So It's funny how that works out. But, and I think it's funny, you begged and never got it.
It was not getting an AT-AT because of the cost back then.
And now you look at, we've got almost the whole fleet.
Yep, I need one more AT-AT to complete the Battle of Hoth. And someday I will get the 5th AT-AT. I actually have the sticker set for it from the guy in Australia that we got the original.
Mm-hmm.
I have the sticker set for it. I just need the AT-AT. And of course, it probably at this point would need a complete teardown and restoration if I did find a 5th one. So it would match the other 4, but
yeah, because the 4 we've got are clean.
Yeah,
I think
completely 100% complete, restored, restickered.
I think other than the repro
the guns,
chin guns,
the chin guns are reproduction. Yes.
Yeah, because I don't know if those are resin or what kind of material they are, but for some reason they just became so discolored.
The original guns were just, I don't think they made it a couple years, and yeah, they would turn this yellowish good.
Right, but the reproduction ones we have are almost like a pinkish red. Have you looked at our AT-ATs recently?
I haven't. It's funny, I look at them all the time, but I haven't looked at it that close to see. Well, that's why the 4 of them are front and center in the collection, because those are my favorites. I look at them all the time. I've never noticed. I'll have to go down and look at them again.
Yeah, you should definitely take a look.
And actually, are the Power of the Force ones? Are they clear?
No, I think the Power of the Force ones. I think they've got the clear tips, but I think the majority of them are just that like blue gray.
All right, yeah, definitely the AT-AT that's the best one.
Yeah. Did you have an ATST or a snow speeder?
I think I had a snow speeder. I did not have an ATST.
Oh, wow, you didn't have either of the walkers.
Now, here's the thing about the ATST. It's in Empire for like a blip, right? And other than that, it's not really in the movie,
right?
I don't honestly remember back then realizing that was an ATST to even think about getting one at that point. It wasn't until Return of the Jedi came out that those were prominently figured in the movie, and then I think I know I had one from Return of the Jedi.
Right. Well, it's funny how that works out because the ATST was a background transport in Empire and prominently in Jedi, but the reverse couldn't be said for the AT-AT.
Right.
Because it was hardly you see it just in one overhead shot when they're transporting Luke to the landing pad.
Right.
And that's it. I think that's the only time you see an AT-AT.
Other than you see a full-size shot of the door, of the side of it, when obviously Luke as a prisoner is being unloaded.
Right, but like if you weren't paying attention to the shot before that, you'd never know that was
You wouldn't know that was the side of the AT-AT, right?
Yeah.
So, and then other than that, I mean, I'm trying to think what else was. I mean, they said a Falcon, but I could have swore it was just a leftover Falcon from.
Well, yeah, it was same molds.
I don't think they changed. Yeah, I think they just repackaged it for Empire.
Yeah, and I think I'm 99% sure they did the same thing for Jedi, if they even repackaged it for Jedi.
Yeah, I don't think they did. But yeah, it was the same one. And you know why? What is the old saying? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's if you look at the timeline of Star Wars, and I like to look back and see like how it went from you had the 12 backs, a handful of figures, and then it exploded with Empire.
Right.
So in exploded relatively, and then it got even bigger with Jedi.
They were making everything for Jedi at that point. I mean, obscure stuff they were making for Return of the Jedi was crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean, my absolute favorite figure from any of the 3 Kenner lines is always been Prune Face. I don't know why. It's partially to do with Robot Chicken shining light on it, but I don't know why. I love that figure because I've got it loose. We've got it on the card, and then we've got the I don't know if it was Power of the Force or Power of the Jedi, whichever one of the late 90s, early 2000 lines were. But I've got all 3 renditions of the original Prune Face.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Jedi, they made everything.
Everything.
So
it was crazy.
Did they make? You might not know either, but did they make a Max Rebo band for in the original Kenner line? Because I don't think so.
I'm not sure. I don't think they did.
I think that might be the one thing that they didn't make. Because I don't think they made Size Snoodles either. The singer with the long like beak in the mouth in the end. Yeah, I don't think that she made it, or that band had made it to the toy line, but yet we had Yak Face. You know, again, see him for half a second and gets an action figure.
Yep. Well, so did Hammerhead.
True.
I mean, he was in there for like, not even. He wasn't even there for 10 seconds. You see him in the background, right?
Yeah, I think it's literally. I think he's got less than 10 seconds.
Speaking of that, do you know that those scenes where you see it in the cantina, where you see, obviously the ones all turned into action figures, all those background aliens, those were shot like a couple of weeks before the release of the movie.
Yeah.
George Lucas just found somebody and said, "Look, I just need you to make me some monsters. I just need to put something fodder in the background."
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that until I saw that. I thought that cantina was shot as one continuous, scene when they're filming the original stuff in England.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was shot on some backlot warehouse, and I think it was in Los Angeles or Van Nuys or somewhere like that. Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Because Mark Hamill said, and I know we're getting on a tangent here, but Mark Hamill had said, he read the script and was like, "Oh, this big, grandiose scene in the cantina," and he walked in, he's like, "Oh, there's like 10 people here."
10 people here, right?
So yeah, George Lucas just wanted to fill it out, and I don't remember the name of the costume creator, but he randomly found him, and it was like, "Hey, can you make some monsters for me to fill out this scene?"
Yep.
So
yep. Well, look, they all got their action figures, though, didn't they? Hammerhead, I think Walrus Man. Did Dr. Ezra
Evazon
ever get an action figure? Now I think about it,
I don't think he
remember he ever got one, did he? He got robbed.
Well, I mean, he not anymore. He's got plenty of variants out there now, but
not. I don't think originally he ever did.
Yeah, I know Ponda Baba did, which is Walrus Man. Who else got an action figure? I think it might have just been Ponda Baba and Hammerhead.
They robbed a few of those creatures out there. So
well,
I think when between 77 and when they did the 12 backs, going a little bit back to the original movie again, I think that there were intermittent releases of action figures between that and Empire. Mm-hmm. And I could have swore I did have a Greedo at one point, and I think I had a Hammerhead at one point too. Because I remember thinking the Hammerhead character was just cool looking.
Yeah, right.
And I think I actually had, we obviously have a perfectly restored Cantina playset, but I think I had a Cantina playset even back then.
Did you really?
Yeah, I might have gotten it late. I think I might have bugged your Nana for one, maybe in the late 79 Christmas-ish thing. They were cheap. They're like $1.99 playsets.
Well, yeah, because it was a piece of plastic with a cardboard backdrop.
Yeah, but, granted, now they're obviously very prized to have. Back then, they produced, a million of them probably, and they're like $1.99 in the store stuff. It was cheap.
And you look now where we've got like the Bib Fortuna's throne from the book, or from technically it's from the Mandalorian, but it's $250, and it's literally just the throne in like 200 small tiny pieces, and you get a Bib Fortuna, a fat Fortuna action figure. And I mean, it's weird to think what a quote unquote play set has become now, but we'll get to that eventually. I'm still curious to hear more about the original Kenner line, and what your perspective looking back on it now is.
I should have left them in the package. That's my perspective looking back.
If only we had a DeLorean.
If only we had a DeLorean, right? Well, obviously we have 3PO. He's an original in the package 12-back.
Yeah, it's funny you say that.
That we found like some obscure flea market place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dirt cheap.
Yeah, so we have a friend. His name's Toga.
Mm-hmm.
I swear to God, he's got a collection that puts ours to shame. Just to be blunt.
Yeah.
But he would always tell us about he snagged like an original 12-back for like $20 from someone who had no idea what was going on. And I always, whenever I see or hear about Toga getting these fantastic deals, I always think back to how we got that on the card mint 3PO for $50. And that's easily, I mean, if you look on eBay or anything, that's a $200 to $400 figure.
Yeah.
So
how about those figures that we got that are French?
Yeah, the Tri logos.
The Tri logo French ones that are still on cards.
Those
are open.
Those are sought after too. I think it's so funny that the obscure stuff is the stuff that's some of the most valuable.
Yeah.
So
I think we have a ATST driver, and we have the B-wing pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a third one?
We have a third. I don't remember what it was.
I can't remember what the third one is now. It's been so long. We keep those in a safe, fireproof safe, because they're so rare. That I have to go back and look. That's the problem with. I mean, our collection is so big that I sometimes forget what is all in the collection.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like you said, that's not even as big as most people's things. I can't imagine how some of these folks keep track of what they got.
Yeah, Toga has. God, I don't even know his house. Like he's probably has like a 4 or 5 bedroom house, and 3 or 4 of those rooms are wall to wall with everything, and that's not including like living rooms or like family rooms or anything like that.
Wow.
I'm just talking like bedrooms. And oh my God, he gave us a tour once when he came on the Inflatable Falcon, and he gave us like a quick video tour, and I was blown away. And I thought our collection was impressive, but
not so much.
I think he has every single Black Series figure ever made.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
I never got into the Black Series, you know that.
Yeah.
I'm obviously obsessed with the vintage toys because I grew up with them as a child. I mean, that's understandable. I think if you ask most people my age, they probably would tell you the same thing. Oh, I had that as a kid. You know what I mean? So to actually still have it, you know what I mean, is just cool.
Right.
But although, I mean, there are some other stuff that I wish I had, but it's just anymore. There was a brief period in time where you could collect inexpensively.
Yeah.
And I don't know, all of a sudden, with the rise of the internet and everybody realized when some of the stuff was finally actually worth, just the prices went out. That's why our collecting has slowed down, is because the prices are just insane. That's why we don't have a fifth AT-AT, because you can't even buy the junk ones for less than a couple $100.
Right.
So, but
yeah, I think it's funny that because it was probably right around the time I was maybe 10 or 11 that it was one of those things where it was like, okay, like the Toys Time Forgot, like we would go there all the time when I was a kid.
Yep.
And we'd pick up this or that here and there, and then like it got to the point where it was like, even like I recognized like, wow, this stuff is
right.
This is inflated 200%.
200%, yeah.
So, and like I still go back there and I'm like, how are you in business with some of these things that are? We're just having a conversation. So for those of you that don't know, there's a small like vintage toy shop. They don't just do Star Wars. They do everything, and it's wall to wall. I mean, I swear to God, it's packed. You can hardly maneuver through there with how much stuff they have. But it's weird going back in there now at like to see it through adult eyes, to be like, there's no way any of this stuff was this expensive when I was a kid.
No,
So-
you're right. Their prices have gone up to the point where I wonder who's even buying the stuff.
Mhm.
Unless it's just people that randomly walk in the store and say, wow, I used to have that as a kid. Wow, it's expensive, but hey, what the heck? I just want this one piece.
Right.
A serious collector wouldn't go into a store like that and go, yes, unless it was just something so rare that they were struggling finding, and they're just like, oh, okay, screw it. I'm going to way overpay for it. But
Yeah. It's that here and now syndrome.
right. Impulse buying.
You're right.
Right.
Um,
I can't, like, we've been to toy stores. We go all the time.
Mhm.
These various places, and it's the same thing, store to store to store. The prices are so high.
It's because everyone knows what they have now.
Everybody knows what they have now, right? And that's why, again, our collecting has slowed to a trickle because we can't. I'm not going to overpay 200% to have something,
Right.
because we have almost everything. That's the crazy part. We have a lot.
Yeah.
At this point, we're just doubling up on things. I mean, how many of the same kind of X-Wing do you need?
Well, I mean, some are restickered. Some have a different box.
I guess, but I mean, it's not that I would ever stop. If I found one for $5, of course I'm buying it.
Right. Well,
but I'm not gonna pay $200 for something I already have. Let's put it that way.
Right. Yeah, I think it's funny you say that because I think the most recent vintage thing that we've gotten was I think we got another land speeder because I saw it at the flea market for like $10, and well the guy wanted like $30 for it, and I told him like it's not worth it. So, and
well, we got the Falcon. We have another complete original Falcon down there, and I just have to finish it. I just haven't.
Where?
It's sitting down right. It's sitting on the floor actually towards the back.
How have I not? Why do we have so much stuff that I don't even know we have an original Falcon?
You gotta go look every once in a while. We have another original Falcon. Your mom found it on Facebook Marketplace.
That's right.
The guy had it hanging, like we have our toys hanging off of fishing line.
As you do.
And the guy had it hanging, and I could have swore it's one of those things his wife said get rid of it, and he sold it. I would say your mom bought it for $70, $80, but it's not complete. It's about 82% complete.
I forgot about that. Because I do remember that because I think you had texted me and asked me if I wanted to go, but I was working.
I think you tried to reprint the struts.
That's right.
For it.
Yep.
And I don't know were we ever successful in that? I don't think we ever were we?
I got the right color filament.
They just never came out right, did they?
Right.
So that's gonna be one of those things where we're gonna have to. I know it needs struts. It has the gun on top, believe it or not, but it's missing the seat of all things, which is one of the things that was never missing on them. It was always the guns on top.
Right.
Has the radar dish, which is important. Doesn't have the exercise ball.
Right.
I think it has the table. It might have the hidden compartment cover.
Mm-hmm.
It's just missing a few minor things, but one of these days I'll get around to it. That'll be a total strip down, clean, resticker, make it look pretty. It'll be a matching set to my original one.
Yeah. I still think we need to get a reproduction box.
At least I would like to have one. Yes. I wouldn't even going for it.
Like 30 or 40 pounds, which is like $50.
I didn't realize that. I thought they were much more expensive than that. Well, it's the shipping though from England.
Right.
500 pounds.
Right.
So
yeah.
But yeah, I still look for the crown. It's not my personal one, but I think one of the crown jewels of Star Wars vintage collecting, of course, is the very last toy ever produced, which was the 1985 A-Wing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've only ever seen one actual one, and they produced almost none of them. They go for an insane amount of money. But someday I feel like I'm going to be walking through a flea market or a yard sale, and I'm going to go, holy crap,
That's
$5. Is that firm? I just feel
twist my arm.
I just feel like it's going to be one of those things.
Yeah. Yeah, I always thought it was weird we never had an A-Wing. Because I figured, at some point, Because I mean, with how OCD that you are,
Mhm.
I figured, before the big collecting boom, I would have always thought you would have found one.
They're rare. They only, again, another toy where they were only actually in the movie. I mean, I think collectively, if you took all the shots of an A-Wing out of Return of the Jedi, what were they, a couple of minutes?
Yeah, 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah, at most. Right? And I don't know if they were actually ever named in the movie, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think they were actually ever named. So, that was one of those things where post Jedi, you knew, oh, by the way, that ship was called an A-Wing.
Right. But yeah, the B-Wing which, by the way, the B-Wing looks nothing like a B. Just for...
I know. Where in the hell did Lucas come up with the name B-Wing? It doesn't even look like a B. The X, the Y, the A, I can see it. I never understood the B-Wing.
I guess you just couldn't call it a T-Wing.
But that's what it should be, though, a T-Wing. Really, right? It's a T. Yeah, if I ever see George Lucas, I'm going to have a stern talk with him about that.
After you fangirl out?
After I fangirl drool and everything, I'm going to have a stern talk with him about why was the B-Wing not a T-Wing?
Yeah, so it's funny. It's funny you say you bring up the A-Wing in '85, and I feel obviously I was not around when that was the case, but I feel like around then Star Wars kind of started to trickle out of the mainstream.
Star Wars was dead by '84. I'll be totally honest with you. Even I had lost interest by '84.
Well, you were,
and the reason being is that at that point I was 16.
Right.
I had gotten my driver's license, and I had totally transitioned away from Star Wars to cars at that point.
Right.
I was obsessed with cars, Camaros, ironically enough.
Yeah. Wow, this is starting to sound like an episode of the Inflatable Falcon.
Right.
Which, by the way, Wednesday nights at 8:30, it is Mike, Ken, myself, and we talk about everything.
Hey guys, this is Mike Hinton here, part of the Inflatable Falcon Podcast, and we're also part of the Unifying Fandom Network of podcasts. And I'm here with my friends, and we talk all things Star Wars.
Yeah, my name is John. I'm one of the co-hosts. We talk things from 3D printing to all the costuming groups and going to conventions in our costumes.
Yeah, and this is Ken, one of the other co-hosts of the Inflatable Falcon. And when I'm not on the forces behind Star Wars, I'm talking with John and Mike about costuming, making food, fixing our cars, and anything else related to the Star Wars universe.
So if you check us out, Wednesdays again, 8:30, we record live, and back to your show.
It was. I don't remember having hardly any toys from Return of the Jedi, and that's only because at that point I was 14 when it came out.
Right.
Or excuse me, 15. I was 15 when it came out in '83. I don't remember having any of the toys from it. And of course, they had the skiffs, and they had Jabba's palace, or not palace, but his throne. I'm sorry.
Right.
They had his throne, and they had all kinds of stuff that they were releasing for Return of the Jedi. But I didn't have hardly any of it. By that point, I was a teenager and just was transitioning away. Obviously, I saw Return of the Jedi in the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of times, really. And it was just kind of like that was the end of the trilogy, and it was a great trilogy, and I put it out of my mind. I'll be honest, I didn't give Star Wars another thought until, when the toys started coming back, 96, 97. I don't remember when Power of the Force was introduced.
It was 97, because that's when Lucas started promoting the special editions, because he wanted to fund the Phantom Menace.
Right. And I mean, Lucas is smart when it came to money. He clearly reintroduced those toys to fund a Phantom Menace.
That's known.
That's not even. Yeah, you're right. Everybody knows that, but that was so obvious that they did that. But when those toys came back out in 97, I went to see them at Toys R Us, and it got me interested again. You're right. The special editions came out, but that gap between 84-ish and 96,
Mm-hmm.
I was not into Star Wars. I just wasn't.
So you didn't read any of the books, or
I've never read a Star Wars book ever.
really?
Never. I've never read any of the Star Wars books or any of the books that were considered canon, or none of them.
Huh. Well, I guess I get it honestly.
It was just not my thing. It was not my genre.
Yeah. Well, I get it honestly because I don't read either. I've read Star Wars books, but I hardly read anything. So
no, it wasn't until 97 when the new toys came out, and then I got reintroduced to the collecting again.
Mm-hmm.
And again, my mother, like I said at the beginning of the show, she had saved some of that stuff. And at that point, I was already out. I was working. I had moved into my own home, and she gave me the toys, kind of like, here, let's clean the house out.
Right.
And gave me those toys, and they sat at the house that we lived at before here until I finally, got them out and was like, you know what I mean? We should start collecting. And then when you came along in 99, I was off and running.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I don't remember. Granted, I would have been 3-4 years old, but I don't remember us really having a whole lot until maybe 04. Because I know I can.
It was when Attack of the Clones came out. That's when I just hit the gas and we were going. We were buying toys like there was no tomorrow after Attack of the Clones.
Right. Well,
I had bought a few here and there just because I thought it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you got to be, you would have been, 3 when Attack of the Clones came out.
Yeah. I
had to fight with your mother a little bit about getting the Star Wars toys because she was worried you were so little you choke on them.
Yeah.
But that's when we just start. But you're right. By 04, now you're 5, right? And
right.
I still remember you talking about wanting to go see Revenge of the Sith.
Well,
and then we got the toys. We started. I remember I went back. I actually went to Toys Time for God, if you remember, and I got you a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, because
Star Wars toys.
I vividly remember getting. It was. I know I got a Power of the Force X-wing.
Yep.
I got obviously Pilot Luke to go with the X-wing. I got Han, Chewbacca, Obi-Wan, and Vader.
Yep.
And I think those were the first Star Wars toys that I got.
Yeah.
Or at least that I remember getting.
And still have.
Yeah, right.
Because I remember you didn't understand it back then. Now you do. Don't lose any of the little pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But back then when you're little, you didn't realize it. But
right.
And I remember you used to get so mad at me because I'd make you put them all back together in order on a shelf.
Yep.
And you didn't understand why, but now you know why.
Yeah.
It's the little things. Missing one missile can ruin something, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, look at the guns on the X-wing. I mean, that's another thing that's impossible to find right now.
Yeah. Good luck. Thankfully, we have all 4 guns on every X-wing we have.
Right. Now we've kind of skipped a very important point in time.
Uh-oh.
Because obviously I think we've got damn near everything now.
Yes.
Did you get anything from the Phantom Menace when it came out?
Nothing. Funny. I'll tell you another funny story about the Phantom Menace. I was again lost. I was in my career at that point. I was 4 years into my career, and you were born obviously the same year as Phantom Menace.
Yeah, it would have been 29 days after the Phantom Menace came out.
Right. So obviously, with your mom being pregnant with you, I was not even thinking about Star Wars, really. I'll be honest. I didn't know the Phantom Menace was even coming out in 99. I'm totally honest. Didn't know. And that is the only Star Wars movie I never saw in the theaters was the Phantom Menace.
Yes, we did. You didn't see it when it originally released in theaters.
Not when it originally released, but I did technically see it later. But I never saw it in its premiere release. But and it wasn't, and then when Attack of the Clones came out, obviously I went back. I saw that one.
Right.
And But yeah, I had nothing from the Phantom Menace. It wasn't until much later that, as you know, nobody wanted the Phantom Menace toys,
Right.
Because nobody liked the prequels, to be quite honest. I love the prequels. I actually watched the prequels more than I watched the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Love the prequels. I think that they were so different from the original trilogy. That's why people didn't like them. But if you understood, there was a huge time gap between 25 years.
Yeah, you're getting on a soapbox, and I'm going to cut you off.
I'm sorry,
but I will take every opportunity that I have to put you on blast by giving you a great "I told you so." Because when I was a child and not as articulate as I am now as an adult, I vividly remember you saying how bad the prequels were, and I didn't understand because I was a kid.
Did I?
But now look how the tables have turned, because I can actually explain to you why Revenge of the Sith is the greatest film ever created, and I will die on that hill. But I vaguely remember you hating all three of the prequels when they came out.
And that's because they were not like the original trilogy.
Mm.
And when you're a child watching the original trilogy, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When you are 9 years old in a theater and you're like, and you see the Star Destroyer come overhead, right, chasing Tantive 4, which of course nobody knew what the hell that name of that ship was back then, right? That was it. That was the pinnacle of Star Wars. When the prequels came out, again, they were so different from the original trilogy that when you've seen the original three so many times, and I've seen them hundreds and hundreds of times each, it's crazy. I don't even have a number. I probably collectively have seen the original three 1,000 times.
Mm-hmm. That's probably about as many times I've seen Revenge of the Sith.
It's insane how many times I've seen them, but you're right. When the prequels came out, I was like, I don't know. You know what I mean? But now you're right. Looking back, see, you can say you told me so, and you're right. The prequels are amazing, and that's why I went and got the Phantom Menace toys, which we don't have a lot of them because I don't remember there being a lot of Phantom Menace toys.
There's not a lot, but
they seemed like they were much more doing like the electronic stuff. You know what I mean? Like it would, I don't know, link to your watch or something. I didn't even remember what some of it was. Weird.
It was the comlink.
Comlink, that's what it was.
Yeah, because every action figure came with the little chip that you stick in the additional accessory that you had to buy.
Yes, that's right. It was a comlink. Right, I couldn't remember what it was, but they totally seemed like they were going that route and away from just action figures or just a toy. That it was like a land speeder or something, because there was a blue land speeder, which I can't remember. Is this still land speeder?
Yeah, it was just from the special editions.
Yeah. So, they were going away from that kind of toy, and they were trying to be more techie about it. And, I wanted it to be not techie. I wanted it to be 1977 again. So
right.
But yeah, in retrospect, we have maybe 8 to 10 pieces from the Phantom Menace. I don't even remember if we even have that many.
No.
We have some. I know don't we have some 3-packs or something from the Phantom Menace?
From the Phantom, hold on. I think you need to rewind because we have a lot more than that. We've got almost the whole line
of the Phantom Menace.
Yes.
Again, that's the problem with having so many toys. I don't remember some of it. It's
look at the top shelf.
Have you ever shown your audience like a picture of the toy collection?
I have not. I need to.
Maybe that's what you should insert into the snap a photo, insert it into this podcast.
Well, considering this is an audio primarily podcast, that would be kind of hard to insert a picture.
Okay,
in there.
Well, you're right. My bad, but it's insane how you're right. I've lost track of some of the toys. So
yeah, I mean, I do the same thing. I forget that we had the and again, kind of moving a little bit too forward, but we've got the the vintage collection AT-AT from Endor. I forgot because that was a Christmas present for me.
Yeah,
and I forgot that we had it because we've got what 2 or 3 Power of the Force AT-ATs. We've got obviously 4 of the Kenner AT-ATs.
We have 2 of the Power of the Force. We have the Hoth AT-AT of the Power of the Force one, and then we have the Endor AT-AT.
But that wasn't Power of the Force. That was the Vintage Collection. That was a totally different line. Because that would have been like
the Endor AT-AT?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, look at the box.
All right. I gotta look back again.
Yeah.
Wow.
But, all right.
Wow. You know, it's funny. I'm down there all the time, constantly walking around these toys. And it's funny, you forget. I mean, that's what happens when you've been collecting for
45 years.
On and off for 45 years, right? You lose track of some of it. I know we also have the Rogue One AT-AT, which was actually not an AT-AT. It was an AT something else. It was a transport AT-AT.
Yeah, I think
cargo transport AT-AT.
I think there's a C in there somewhere.
Is it ATCT?
Something, I don't know.
Yeah, it's something like that. There's one letter different. And then we have the they made that one like supersized AT-AT.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what that was called.
That was from 2008 or 9. It was around the same time as the Clone Wars.
Okay.
And we'll get there in a minute, but I want to touch on the first line of toys that I remember, and that would have been all the Revenge of the Sith toys.
Mm-hmm.
To me personally, that was the golden age of modern Star Wars toys.
And you have a lot of them. We spent a fortune on your Revenge of the Sith toys, man.
Oh yeah,
because you've got Grievous's wheel, you've got the Republic gunship, you've got the Arc 170, you have
Obi-Wan and Anakin's interceptors.
Yep, and you also have Mace Windu's.
That was another like 2006, 2007, 2008.
Okay.
That wasn't a part of the Revenge of the Sith.
What was in the original in the Battle of Coruscant, beginning of the movie? What's the things that fire the missiles? They almost look like a tri.
The Tri-Fighters.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
okay, I know you got one of those.
Yep.
You have a. What am I missing? Did the Tri-Fighters come with the Buzz droids?
Yeah.
You have Buzz droids.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gosh, what else do you have? You actually have multiple Republic gunships because one of them's still in the box.
Yeah. Yeah, because we got those.
And we haven't even touched on that about in the box. Oh my gosh.
Right. Yeah. I over the years, because my goal, before I die, I want to have an entire carded collection of the entire Revenge of the Sith line. Which, God, I don't even want to see what the price tag would look like on that. But we've got some carded Revenge of the Sith figures, which that is my favorite packaging. As much as I love the Kenner line, the Vader helmet with the Mustafar like lava and flames in that like dome packaging, I think is hands down the best that any of the packaging has ever looked. But yeah, I think I've told this story before, but God, what would I have been? The first or second grade when that came out?
Which one?
Revenge of the Sith.
You'd have been 6, or just about to turn 6. You might have been going into first grade. I think maybe we were actually in kindergarten still.
Either way, I remember I did something right in school. Like maybe I got an A or 2 on my report. I had a good report card. I remember that much.
Mm-hmm.
And that day you had taken me. We went to Toys R Us, and you. I will never forget this. But I got Anakin's Jedi Interceptor, which. That has swayed my memory for life. That will always be. That's my AT-AT, because that was the first like brand new toy that I had gotten from Star Wars. So I still remember that after 17 years,
and you still have it with the box,
right? So and I can thank you for that. Foresight is.
Yep. Never throw away the boxes. Never throw away. Not even the cardboard inserts. Don't throw anything away.
Yeah, I am grateful that you've taught me that lesson. So, but was there anything from that line that stuck out to you, or was that just more so?
I always like
on me?
Some of them were huge. Like the Arc 170 is huge. Like the toys were just scale wise were incredible. I always liked that and the Republic gunship. Actually, didn't we get you the gunship in Disney? Yeah, at Disney World.
Yeah.
So.
That I think so. I know we slowed down at least on the new stuff between Revenge of the Sith and then when the Clone Wars came out.
Right.
I know because there was a lull in content being put out in those 3 short years.
Yep.
But man, I remember when the Clone Wars came out and they were again it was just like what happened in '97. They were gearing up for the Clone Wars TV show, so it was just a massive boom of new Star Wars toys. That's when they first started doing the vintage collection, where it was the Kenner style cards with the updated figures.
Mm-hmm. Even the toys. I mean, they started producing. Didn't they do the vintage series toys at some point?
That's pretty recent.
Oh, okay.
But I remember going to Target like 2-3 times a week, going in and trying to find all the new.
I mean, that was literally like our day out. Let's hit up the toy aisles of all the places.
Right. And I remember we had brought home so much stuff.
So much stuff. Oh my gosh.
I don't know how Mom didn't kill us.
Right. She probably wanted to, but we had an insane amount of toys that we were buying. Because you're right, there was a moment in time there where we were just couldn't control ourselves. But they were pumping out toys. Like, there'd be like even Target exclusives and there'd be a Walmart exclusive version. And that's why we have so many B-Wings. Right. We have the Walmart, the Target, the original one,
the Toys R Us one,
and the Toys R Us one.
Yeah.
But it's all pretty much the same B-Wing. It's crazy.
Right. It's different packaging, a different figure.
Yeah, we were just, it got out of control there for a minute where you're right, we were buying toys like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was going online on eBay and buying I was buying up the Power of the Force stuff because it was dirt cheap. Yeah. It had been introduced it was anywhere from 10 to 5 years old, give or take ish. I don't remember when the time frame when they started to finish it, start to finish. Nobody wanted the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was dirt cheap. That's why we have so many mint in the box, never opened, like the detention center things. We have X-Wings that are still in the box, never opened. Gosh, we have so much in the box. It was from the Power of the Force. All those 3 packs of action figures.
Yeah.
We must have 10 that have never been opened of the originals.
Yeah, well, we've got the whole collection of the 3 packs.
We've got every single one of them. A couple of them I had to hunt for, but we found them all.
Right.
But yeah, we have tons of the unopened boxes of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
From especially Power of the Force, which back then was dirt cheap. Nobody wanted it. You could buy stuff for a couple bucks. It was crazy.
Well, the figures now you can still find on the card for like $5 or $6.
Yeah, it wasn't the figures; it was the toys.
Right.
You're not finding the unopened stuff now dirt cheap.
Yeah, I went to the Exchange, and for those of you who don't live in the northeastern part of the country in the U.S., it's basically like it's a bunch of everything. It used to just be like music and movies, but they started buying like collectibles and stuff. But I went there a couple months ago, and they had a garbage looking box. I probably was opened at one point, but it was beat to hell. Power of the Force Millennium Falcon, the orange style box.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted $100 for it. And I wanted to look at the guy and be like, what do you think you have?
And they think they have looked online and they see stuff going for $400 and $500 and they're like, well, this one's like 1/5 is good, so it's $100.
Right. And I don't think that some people realize that, most of the value comes from, no dinged corners, no creases,
no shelf wear.
Right, no yellowing for on any of the figures from.
Right,
but yeah, I still think very highly of, even though everyone hates them. Still, I love the Power of the Force line. I think they're a niche thing that's different from everything else that we have now. And I know you don't keep up on it as much as I do, but there's a lot of stuff out there right now that it boggles my mind thinking of like 5-6-year-old me to now 23-year-old me, where it's like, wow, I wish I had some of this stuff when I was a kid. And I'm sure you could probably say the same for, looking at the stuff that you bought me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like you were saying with like the Arc 170, but I mean like, because I like the Black Series figures. I think the detail in the 6 inches are great, and the box art is fantastic. Which, again, being an adult saying that is just a concept to behold on its own.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I look at some of the stuff that are coming out now, and it's like, wow, this would have been cool when I was like 10 years old.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I want to get your thoughts on like I said earlier, now it's every 6 months where you've got like 15 different figures in all 3 of the major lines,
Mm-hmm.
where you've got the Black Series, the Vintage Collection, and then the Retro Collection, which are basically they're the Kenner figures that are not 3 3/4, but they're a smidge taller, so you can't sell them as, original Kenner.
Mm-hmm.
But what are your thoughts on? Because obviously, like you said, it's starting to trickle now, where we're not buying as much. Do you look at some of this stuff like when you're walking through the store, and because I know you still go through the toy aisle when you go to Walmart or Target?
Of course.
Is there any of the stuff that you see, or it's like, oh, that'd be cool to have for the collection?
You know what? It's not anymore. Not the new stuff. I don't like go through and go, gosh, I really have to have that. It's just, I don't know. It just doesn't feel the same anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're right. They're releasing like all these action figures every 6 months. First of all, I couldn't even keep up with it if I wanted to.
Right.
And you have guys that, whether it's right or wrong, I guess we could debate that. They'll go in there and they'll stock these stores out at 6 a.m., buy the entire thing of what's available, and then turn around and the stuff will be on eBay at noon.
I do believe they call them scalpers.
Is that what they are?
Yeah.
Okay, well, whatever they are, it kind of ruins the whole collecting, because you can't get the entire sets because somebody has bought up everything that's available.
Yeah, and that's how you end up with peg warmers like Constable Zuvio and the most recently the General Lando Calrissian.
Yeah, there's a couple of them that are still left on the shelf that you're like, the action figures are gone over $10 a piece easily.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't justify $10.
It's not $10 anymore. It's $15.
Yeah, I can't justify a $15 action figure anymore when we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. I mean, we probably have 400 action figures.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still in the package on the cards.
Right.
Of various, from, like you said, all the way from 78 to present.
Right.
So I just can't really justify it anymore. So I've limited myself at this point in my life to the scope of I want the 50 AT-AT. I would never turn down the 85 A-Wing. Or if I found something vintage, like, when your mom found that Falcon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at some point I'll do that one.
Well, you're not going to turn down a good deal.
I'm not going to turn down a good deal, but I don't hunt for them like I used to.
Right.
I'm finally to the point where, in my opinion, our collection is so massive that I'm happy. It's like walking down memory lane when you go down and look at it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have TIE bombers, we have Darth Vader's original, his original ship, plus the Power of the Force version. We have a TIE Interceptors. We have vintage TIE fighters. We have the vintage series TIE fighters. We have the Power of the Force TIE fighters. I can't remember what they were called. Remember when they made those like really to scale versions of them? It's the one we have in the fighter scene hanging. What is that? I remember what that series is called.
I have no idea.
They tried to do it more to scale. Like they supersized the X-Wing. Yeah. Because to scale it wasn't really right for putting the 3 3/4 action figures in them.
Mm-hmm.
In the original lines. They made them like what? Probably 16 or 18 inches long. They're huge. And, like, I see stuff like that. I'm like, that's cool. We have like all the original, we have an original Y-Wing. We have an original B-Wings. We have some of this stuff. I'm happy and content with what we got.
Mhm.
That I would, like I said, never turn down a deal. But I don't go around hunting for them anymore like I used to.
Right. Now, obviously, with the new stuff, I like the pop figures.
Right.
Do you? What are your thoughts on stuff like that?
Well,
they're more like
it's not
shelf
like
warmers.
it's not like I'm opposed to pop figures. It's just that's your generation. It's
Mhm.
just not my generation thing. It's not like
Right.
I would say no to them. It's not my generation.
Right.
I grew up on 3 3/4,
Mhm.
right? And it's like your entire collecting is centered around that size.
Right.
So
Now,
of course, if it's in the box, that's everything.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we have the Ewok Village. It's never been taken out of the box. Maybe I should be saving that instead of the Falcon, right? Because
Right.
an Ewok Village from '83 that's never been out of the box. Now, somebody opened the end flap. I'll be fully disclosed that, right? But if you open it, look in it, everything is still in the plastic packaging, including inserts. I don't even know why they would have opened the end package, but they did.
Mm-hmm.
The end flap, but it's never been out of the box, never been played with. I mean, some of that's just, or even if it's been out of the box, to have a box like we have the Y-wing box from, I think is that Y-wing Return of the Jedi, or
Yes, yeah. Because
to have that box. I mean, I know we have the battle damaged X-wing box.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually
We
got
have
that for you.
How
for
about
Christmas.
the Death Star? The Death Star from '78.
Yeah.
We have a complete Death Star
Not
with the box.
Not only do we have a complete Death Star, but we have a very clean box.
Very clean box. We have the original Star Destroyer with box. We have what is the other one we have the box? Am I thinking? Dagobah. We have Dagobah
Right.
playset with the box. Think about it. Those boxes went into the trash 30 seconds after the kids opened them for Christmas. The fact anyone ever saved the boxes is a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
Did any of them even exist, really?
Right.
So to have a box is crazy, which is why that guy in England is reproducing them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. Now, what do you think about, like, again, obviously another small portion of our collection is I have a couple of the sideshow figures, the hyper realistic, 12-inch figures. Is that just another thing that's like not your deal, or is that something you would look closer at?
Honestly, it's just not my deal. Like the original, the Chewie and the Darth Vader, my 12-inch ones I had from when I was a kid.
Yeah,
they were not my favorite toys. I can't believe they survived.
Right.
I didn't like them back then because, again, I was totally addicted to 3 3/4. That's all I wanted was the little ones,
mm-hmm.
little action figures. I didn't even like them back then. It's not that I shouldn't say didn't like them. It just wasn't my cup of tea.
Yeah.
Back
they weren't what you were primarily playing with.
They weren't. So,
did you have any of the other 12-inch ones, or was it just those two?
It was just those two. And I don't even remember why I had those two.
I
bet you they were like stocking stuffers.
That's what I was gonna say,
or something, because your grandma was probably just looking for anything. And those were probably those weren't desirable back then. Those were probably 99 cents on sale.
Right.
Really, and they were just stocking stuffers.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think it's very, like I said, it's interesting to look back to how much it's changed over the last 45 years to go from the most undesirable marketing tool, if you will. Nobody wanted to touch it with a 10-foot pole, to now it is actively sought after by every single toy maker in the world.
To produce the Star Wars line?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. They probably beg now, Disney, of course, beg Disney to make the toys.
I think
how they make Pez dispensers, and I think some of the dumb. I'm personally, in my opinion, some of the dumb things they slap the name Star Wars on.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can't just slap Star Wars on everything. Like
You can, and they do.
Your other grandmother gave me Star Wars. I want to say they were Kleenex.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need Star Wars Kleenex.
But God damn it, if we don't still have them.
I haven't. Why? Because you never throw anything from Star Wars away.
That's what I'm saying.
But that's not something I would have actively gone out and got.
Right.
But I mean, we saved the original Pringles cans that you ate, right? Because there were 6 of them.
We ate.
I think it was you ate. Let's be honest. But we still have the 6 Pringle cans that they came out with because it's a set.
Yeah.
Remember when I had to beg Verizon when The Force Awakens came out, and Verizon had that thing where they had the cardboard.
Google Cardboard.
Was it VR?
Yeah.
Or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was Google Cardboard VR.
I had to beg them to get all 4 of the different versions of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've told
because
this story.
my OCD is so bad. If I didn't have the set, I would spend my life looking for it.
Yeah.
So,
and the funny thing is, I think you can find them on eBay now for relatively cheap.
Probably.
They were handing them out
they were handing them out. They were free. But you remember, I'll never forget how much grief that guy gave us over not wanting to give me all 4 of them.
Yeah, as if it wasn't literally just a piece of cardboard with 2 little lenses.
And the
inside.
guy had like boxes of hundreds and hundreds of them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was just silly, but
I think us walking in there with our Star Wars T-shirts on,
right,
kind of intimidated him.
Right.
So
it is what it is. But anything that's a set, I will always try to get the set.
Mm-hmm.
I want every piece of the set, which is why I have to be careful getting a new action figure because then I want all of them.
Right. Well, the good thing now is, and I don't even call it a good thing. Depends on who you ask. At least me personally. They are totally disconnected waves of figures, so they have no correlation to each other. It's like, okay, you've got like 2 Mandalorian figures, and then you've got like 1 Attack of the Clones. Well, they don't touch the prequels, and it drives me nuts. But like you'll have like 2 Mandalorian figures, 2 Obi-Wan figures, a Return of the Jedi figure, and a New Hope figure, and that's your set. Right. That's your wave.
That's your wave, right?
So
just random.
Yeah, total disconnect. And 2 or 3 of them are garbage figures, but the other 3 or 4 are, actively sought after. So it's, I think collecting now. And the other thing is, in Mike, Ken, and I have talked about this ad nauseum, where action figures anymore, they stop making toys for kids. It's all for adults.
It's for
now.
adults. Adult collectors. I'll never forget the greatest Saturday Night Live skit they ever did was when A Force Awakens came out, and they had like kids playing with the toys, and then they had the adult collectors in there, and they were mocking the fact that that the guy would say, "Oh, you could just leave them in the box and never touch them," and I'm thinking, "Oh my god, this is hilarious," but they're talking about me.
Yeah, that's us.
That's us. Wow, I'm laughing, but then I'm laughing at myself. So
right,
but that's the truth. Toys, you're right. Toys today are made for adult collectors. They're not made for kids anymore.
Yeah, well, because kids don't play with action figures. You slap an iPad in front of their face and they're happy.
Right.
You put anything else in front of them, it's like, well, I'd rather just have the video screen in front of me.
Yeah, they're not made. They're not made. They're adult collect. You're absolutely right.
I'm very grateful that I grew up when I did, because I think I have the right to say I grew up at the very tail end of the action figure era.
Very tail end, yes.
So look, and I'll take that. I'm okay with that, because I will always remember playing in the backyard with my Star Wars action figures in the Indiana Jones mountain play set that I had.
Mm-hmm.
We still have the box for that too.
You know what? That's the one thing you learn early on, because we threw away the boxes when I was a kid. You never ever throw away the boxes for toys.
Right.
So
I will never forget playing in the backyard with the Star Wars toys. So, and I'm forever grateful that I at least got to experience that.
Yep.
So, and some of these kids have, they don't care about action figures, and it's sad to see.
Yep.
So,
I'm surprised that you have not brought up the juggernaut of Lego.
That's
Yeah.
we could fill another hour and a half with Lego.
Right. I mean, talking about toys for adults.
Right.
You know, when I was a kid, Legos were for kids. Not anymore. Adult collectors.
Yeah.
Lego toy. I don't even want to call it Lego toys. They should just call it Lego for adults.
Well, because
Like, you know, the minimum age thing, it
Mhm.
should be like 20.
and I think Lego's done they've got a very smart business model
Yeah.
because they
Just
have
make Star Wars. That's their motto.
well, yeah, but they've got they've got every age range now. So
Mhm.
you've got your junior sets, which are the 110 piece set
Mhm.
that it's actually a play set.
Mhm.
You've got your standard Lego,
Mhm.
and those are your kind of models, but really play sets.
Mhm.
And then you've got your 18 plus sets, or like the diorama sets, or the my personal favorite, the Ultimate Collector's Series,
Mhm.
which the UCS gunship, hands down favorite set of all time now.
Well, it took you a week to build it.
It took me 3 days. All right.
It seemed like a week.
Well, that's because you weren't happy about it sitting on the kitchen table,
Yeah, we
So-
couldn't eat.
like we ever use it.
Yes, we do occasionally, once or twice
But-
a year,
Exactly.
and that was
but-
going to be the time we used it.
No, well, I ruined family dinner.
You ruined a family dinner, right?
But yeah, Lego has. If Lego ever goes out of business, I will be shocked, because they hit every, because there are still kids that play with Legos. And
That's probably one of the few things I think that kids play with. That is, you're right, not electronic.
right. And I think that's because you actually have to take the time to actually build it and do it
Mhm.
yourself. So as opposed to like a play set already coming 90% pre-assembled.
Right.
So I think if Lego ever goes out of business, I'll be shocked. So
They won't, so you won't have to be shocked.
exactly.
They're not going out of business. Like, seriously, society could collapse. Food
Mhm.
riots, everything. There'd probably still be people carrying Legos.
Mhm.
So,
I will be carrying my Ultimate Collector's
Yeah.
Series gunship,
right.
but yeah, Lego fans, because like I try and dip my toe into everything just so I kind of know what's going on around the collector's world. But Lego fans have been very, very upset with Lego Star Wars the last year or
Why is
so,
that?
because they're making leaks happen all the time with Lego, and I have no idea why, but we'll hear about like, oh, we're finally getting XYZ set. Like the thing that everyone wanted for so long was a Phase 2 Commander Cody.
Mhm.
We haven't had a Phase 2 Cody up until 22 days ago,
Okay.
August 1st. And everyone complains about like, oh well, this part of this set should have been this. Like the set that Commander Cody was in. It was, wow, we're finally getting Commander Cody,
Mhm.
and it was in the ATTE, the six-legged walker from
Right.
the prequels. And it was supposed to be from Revenge of the Sith on Utapau. And they included a spider droid, but not a crab droid, which is you see one of the clones run up and kind of top down,
Yeah.
gun it down. And they were mad that they didn't get a crab droid. It's very nitpicky in the Lego community. And Lego does not do themselves any favors. So like the UCS gunship, everyone wanted that to come with Phase 2 Cody. So that, this, we were rewinding about another year, but everyone wanted that set to have Phase 2 Commander Cody. And then when they announced it, and it was, a Phase 1 Sergeant, and a Mace Windu, that was exclusive. Those were the exclusive figures to the set. And Lego came back with, oh, we don't want to make our figures that are only in these, several $100 sets that your average, collector can't buy. Yet, I'm not even gonna get on that soapbox, because Lego shoots themselves in the foot with the fans more often than not with some of the things they say. So, in like the fact that we've got $160 Cad Bane's Justifier now, when they were going on about how they're gonna keep it affordable. Yet we've got a $160 set that, and price per piece has gone off the wall.
Yeah. There's nothing affordable about Lego.
Right.
You have to just want it, and you're willing to pay the prices.
Yeah. Because the thing about Lego is it never depreciates in value.
No.
So, I mean, there's a reason that the original Cloud City set is a $4,000 set.
It is?
Yes.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Cloud City
I didn't realize it had climbed that high.
Yeah. Cloud City Boba Fett is I think it's a $1,000 figure now.
Wow.
It was the original Boba Fett figure, but it was the first figure to have arm printing. So he had his shoulder pauldrons and he had his wrist rockets.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Wow, $1,000 for Boba Fett.
Yeah. It's arguably one of the most sought after minifigures. So.
Well, it's funny you bring up upset Lego fans, because I was just thinking of something else while you're doing that. We talked about restoring like the Falcon.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you I've restored every one of the AT-ATs I have is restored.
Right.
I had come to find out later after I had done those that is the kiss of death in the Star Wars collecting world, because it's not the original stickers.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't know that at the time. But then I started to think of it in terms of, obviously, I love cars. I've restored 3 or 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself, if you had like a vintage Camaro or something, and it was junk, right? People will spend years taking apart every single piece, making it perfect, and putting the car back together really better than it even came out of the factory.
Mm-hmm.
They're so perfect, right? And that's totally acceptable, and that will, sometimes make the car worth 20 times what it was worth.
Yeah.
But you do the same thing to a toy, and all of a sudden
it's worthless.
It's worthless. I'm like, I don't understand. You can restore cars. I mean, think about what, like American Pickers. They're always picking toys. Those guys are picking these toys. Some of them are restored. They fix them up, they clean them up, and they sell them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I've never understood why Star Wars toys of all of them are like that lone exception. People restore Tonka toys. I love the videos of them redoing the old Tonka toys and stuff. And I understand why that's okay and that's acceptable, and that will quadruple the value of a Tonka truck. You do the same thing to a Millennium Falcon. All of a sudden, it's like, whoa! What's that?
I think it's because you've got a few bad apples that are trying to pass it off as, I have a pristine, Millennium Falcon.
You're right. It's always about greed. I get that.
Right. So
I would be honest about it, as I've been on this podcast, that they're restickered. They're not the original stickers. The guy who did them, you would not be able to tell this wasn't an original sticker set. He did a fantastic job.
Right.
I even have the reproduction instructions, which they look exactly like. I actually have a couple of original instructions that are perfect condition.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones we have sealed in the Ziploc bags.
Yeah.
Right. And this guy did, just to reproduce them. They're fantastic, just like the box guy, again from England.
Yeah.
He owes you some plugs, man, because I think we plugged him 3 times, but I would disclose it. Not that we'd ever sell them,
right?
But I would disclose it. But you're right. There's shady people that would, hey, look, I got a whatever piece of the Death Star, you know what I mean, and it's totally original, because our Death Star is restickered.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know that or not. The tower had stickers on it.
Mm-hmm.
The elevator tower.
Yeah.
I restickered the top of it where it's supposed to be, I believe, if I remember correctly, it's supposed to be the tractor beam. Or Obi-Wan goes around. At the top, that's stickers. I restickered it. There's not a lot of stickers on that particular one, but I would disclose that. I'd be like, look, that's not the original stickers.
Right. And like you said, actually, wait, hold on. Isn't the Death Star, didn't we get reproduction foam for the trash compactor? That's not original. Yes,
because the foam we got with it, we touched it and it immediately disintegrated. Yeah. It was so dry. There's no way to save it.
Right. But
the Dianoga is original. But you're right. The foam is also not original. but the guy we got it from meticulously cut it exactly like the original. You'd be hard pressed to tell. I could actually probably pass that off as original.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody would know if I didn't disclose it. The guy did a fantastic job of reproducing it.
Right, and at the end of the day, it's not like it matters because none of this stuff we're never going to sell any of.
Never going to sell it anyway, so it's not like it matters in the least bit.
Yeah,
your mom always jokes about selling it, but no.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I would rather have something that looks perfect and looks original than have some dilapidated, yellowed piece of garbage sitting on the shelf.
I want it to look like it did when it was brand new in 1978, 79, 80, whenever it came out.
Right.
I want it to look new. So if somebody gets it rubs them the wrong way because it's not some 40-year-old sticker that looks like crap, then so be it.
Yeah.
Be it.
And the other thing about that is it's funny if you could have something that's totally original in horrible condition, it'd be worth just as much as something that's reproduction and restickered.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody wants to put the value on something that's reproduction.
I actually would argue that if you put them side by side, even disclosing the one that's been redone, I bet you the one that's restored would sell first.
It would probably sell first, but I don't think that it would be any higher value.
No. If you put them equal value on a table,
mm-hmm.
At a flea market or something, just somewhere random, and fully disclose, this one is complete, but, it's original. That's why it looks a little worn.
Right.
This one is also complete and original, but it's been restored. They're both $100, right? XYZ piece.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you the one that's totally restored would sell first.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's only it's just like anything else, just like with the Legos. Always going to be a couple of naysayers that go, oh, no, I can't. You didn't include that action figure in your set, so that Lego set's ruined.
Right.
They're still buying them by the millions. Must not be that upset about them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm pretty sure Lego reported record sales last quarter.
Record sales. Yeah, and when we were doing that pandemic thing, they were probably killing it in sales because everybody was stuck at home and there were like nothing to do for 6 months or however long everything was closed.
Mm.
Amazon was still willing to deliver you Legos. I bet you they were killing it in sales.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're not going anywhere.
Right.
So,
yeah, I don't know. I think the whole reproduction versus original argument it should just be null and void.
It should. You wouldn't think anything of buying a reproduction grill for a 69 Camaro, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was actually 100% exact like the original one. You wouldn't think anything of it. So why is buying a reproduction chin gun that's exactly like the original one, exactly, be any less? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, Star Wars fans. That's literally that's all you can. That's all you have to say.
Can say. Yep. But that's okay.
There's no one who hates. I've said it before and I'll say it again. There's no one who hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans.
There's probably a lot of truth to that too, because your average moviegoer watches it and goes, "Oh, it was either an okay movie or it was okay, But the true fans are the ones that nitpick it and take it apart.
Right. Yeah, and
like
we're all guilty of it.
What was a joke I told you last night? Like out of the blue, totally out. I mean, we weren't even talking about Star Wars, and what did I say out of the blue?
Yeah, why was the tractor beam on the?
Why in the hell was the switch to turn the tractor beam off on the other side of the tower, where you could fall 4,000 feet? Why didn't Lucas put it on the other side of the bridge?
Suspense.
I get it, right, but it is suspense, but it makes more sense. Why in the hell did you make the old monk guy walk around the little 3-inch wide? And why was the walkway only 6 inches where you had to inch around?
Well, they wouldn't even turn the tractor beam off.
I know, but what if they had to repair it?
Maybe it spun around and nobody knew.
All I'm thinking is that was an OSHA nightmare. Right? OSHA goes in and sees that. That's a workplace violation there.
You think Sheev's going to have anything to say about OSHA coming in there?
Yes, I think that's the only organization that Palpatine was afraid of was OSHA. Don't mess with OSHA, man. They'll get you.
Yeah, they'll shut your whole Death Star down.
They'll shut this Death Star down today, buddy. So, and here's another thing. You're talking about only Star Wars fans, right? I've rewatched it because I saw it somewhere on maybe it was an Instagram or a TikTok, and it's 100% true. In the trench scene when Darth Vader's about to blast Luke Skywalker, and Han Solo obviously flies in and shoots the other TIE fighter, and it smacks him out of the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
He fires before that happens, and I think they might have asked Lucas or somebody about it. He technically fires the guns. You see him pushing the triggers, and the lasers coming out before
Han shoots
them. Yeah. How did it not hit Luke? He had him locked up. He had him locked up on radar, or whatever they would call it.
Right.
Weapons lock on him.
Mm-hmm.
How did he not get him?
Maybe Luke subconsciously used the Force.
I think it was oh boy, was it Kasdan or somebody? They asked too, and they said, "Just don't worry about it." He's actually,
that sounds about right.
He said something about just don't worry about it, or something like that. But yeah, it's clearly a fluke,
right?
I mean, the one of the best scenes of the Death Star is when the stormtrooper bangs his head on the door, and they left it in the movie.
They left it in the movie. Not only did they leave it in the movie, but they also added a sound effect for it in the special edition,
right?
And they made a callback to it in Attack of the Clones when Jango Fett bangs his head off the sliding door of Slave One.
Right. So, I mean, again, you're right. Star Wars fans are the worst critics of Star Wars. Most people don't care. They just don't care. You know what I mean? It's just like you'd have to point that out to them to see that. So.
Yeah, I will never forget. So my birthday this year, I went over to Jess's house, and it was one of those things where I had worked all day, and he was like, "Hey, come over. You're leaving tomorrow to go on a trip. Let's watch Star Wars." I'm like, "Man, well, shit, sign me up."
Mm-hmm.
So we watch Revenge of the Sith, and I feel so bad for Jess and Maria because it was every 5 minutes, if even that long.
Mm-hmm.
Where it was just like, hey, by the way, did you know that in this scene, this was, this is actually what happened, and here's a little bit of backstory to either the behind the scenes or, to the actual canonical lore of the story. I feel bad for watching Star Wars with people who don't know anything about Star Wars. Because I know you and I do it all the time, where we'll bounce trivia off each other. And obviously we've seen it 1,000 times, but
mm-hmm.
it always it takes me a while to think about it. It's like, oh, this person doesn't have an encyclopedia level knowledge of Star Wars like I do. So
yeah, your mom, if it's on TV, I think she cringes because I cannot help myself. But at the end of Revenge of the Sith, when they're gonna have the Battle of the Heroes on Mustafar,
mm-hmm.
I repeat every single line.
Yeah.
My allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy. And your mom's like, oh my gosh. I mean, every word.
Oh,
How
yeah.
do you know this?
Oh, yeah. Because Jess, Maria, and I watched Revenge of the Sith. And I before we even started the movie, I was like, look, I'm going to apologize right now. I know it's annoying. I know it pisses people off. I'm going to quote 90% of this movie. I could close my eyes and watch the entire movie in total silence. And I could just play it in my head. Because I've seen it so much.
I know this isn't toy related. We got a little off, but this... I'd be lying if I said that I don't try to figure out ways to insert Star Wars lines into real life.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
I do it all the time. I'll be 100%. I will cop to it. I'm guilty as charged. That I will figure out ways to figure, put it in, figure out like lines from Star Wars to put in like in real life when I'm talking to people.
I do that all the time. I mean, and it drives my coworkers nuts. Granted, I try not to do it for Star Wars because that's really all they know me for is like, he's the Star Wars guy. I've got a folder of my second behind Star Wars. I know, hard to believe there's something other than Star Wars that I thoroughly enjoy is Futurama. I have a folder of 505 as of today's recording, August 22nd, 2022. 505 different GIFs that I use as responses. I haven't said a real word in our group chat in work since March of this year. Every single response has been a Futurama GIF. But I do the same thing with Star Wars with other people. It drives them equally as nuts because that encyclopedia level knowledge, I can think of a line, find the GIF or the picture or what have you, and then send that as my response as opposed to typing it out. Because, if you say it or you in a text or even just talking to, in conversation, it'll go right over their head if you use something, that's not obviously a Star Wars. Like, it's not an I am your father level quote.
Which everybody knows. Right?
Exactly. So, but like, if I were to say, a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one, and you would just think I'm dumb, and I'm talking in a weird way. But if I send the GIF or the picture of Palpatine, then it's a Star Wars quote, and it doesn't sail right over your head like a lead balloon. So
exactly,
I do the same thing. But I think that's a good place to wrap it up. I know we got a little bit off topic there towards the end. We've been going for about an hour and a half. But I appreciate you coming and hanging out with me for a little bit. Real quick before I let you go, I obviously got to do the whole gambit here. Make sure Inflatable Falcon, me, Ken, Mike, Wednesday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Of course, check out the Forces Behind Star Wars with Ken and the Rad Batch there. I don't know when they're doing their next episode, but if you haven't already, go check out their episode of when they talk about Kenobi. I think that was episode 24, I think it was. But yeah, definitely go check out everything that the Rad Batch has been putting out over there from the Forces Behind Star Wars. And the Unifying Fandom Network with, again, the Inflatable Falcon, the Beskar Bucket, and the Forces Behind Star Wars. Check out all of our different avenues here. I'm not on every show, but I'm on at least 2 of the 3. But Dad, thank you so much for chatting with me.
It was my pleasure. That's what I'm here for.
I hope you had more fun. When I set out this originally, my goal was to kind of, display other creators, and what better creator than the creator of me. So,
I am your father.
All right. On that note, thank you guys so much for checking out this episode of the Beskar Bucket. Be sure to check out my conversations with Ken and Jess from our previous episodes. This has been the latest episode of the Beskar Bucket. Take care, everyone. Thanks for listening.